for an interesting meditation on what it is to be good. I should point out that the conclusion of these remarks we will of course be throwing to you, so by all means be keeping notes and storing up questions to be asked. Our next panelist is Rabbi Jeffrey Cummins. When you're ready.
I remember as a 13-year-old kid listening to the words of The Doors' Soft Parade, Jim Morrison singing Cranked Up. When I was back there in seminary school, there was a person who put forth the proposition that you can petition the Lord with prayer. Petition the Lord with prayer. Petition the Lord with prayer. You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. It's a great Jim Morrison song. Only 28 years later, Nick Cave would sing Into My Arms, keyline, I don't believe in an interventionist God. Well, I have to tell you, I don't believe you can petition the Lord with prayer, and I don't believe in an interventionist God. But on the other hand, thousands of years later, after our ancestors introduced this idea that there is one God, I still deeply believe in it. For me, the question of God in the 21st century and what role there is for it is not about if or why one believes in God, but what kind of God one chooses to believe in. For me, I go back again to the teaching of my ancestors, where the word for God is a simple word in Hebrew. It's spelled with a yud and a hey and a vav and a hey. In translation, that is basically the verb to be. So basically, my ancestors thousands of years ago thought that there was ultimately being as the source of all life. And many, many things flow from that. But the most important thing for me is to understand that everything that is said, done, or written in the name of God is a human construct. It is not God. There are three basic areas in which we can look at how the world is constructed. One is through the world of science, which is based on evidence and fact and things like that. Human beings are obligated to look deeply into the world of facts and evidence and base much of our lives in that objective reality. Then on the other hand, there's the world that we would call the world of art, the world of music, where really beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And while religion may have influenced music and art over the millennia, art and music are absolutely subjective. So what is religion? Religion, as a human construct, enters into the world of the relational. It's neither objective nor subjective. It's discursive. And as that, we in the 21st century as human beings must take absolute responsibility for what we say and what we do. There's a powerful teaching for me in our Torah, which is the opening book of the Bible, where Moses, our prophet, says, "The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those which have been revealed belong to us and to our children forever to apply those teachings." It is important always to be working to the depth of the human mind to be able to find out everything we can about the reality of the universe. Who knows how creation really began, but if we use the Big Bang as an example, all a religious or a spiritual person is saying, being precedes the world of matter and reality. An atheist is positive that matter and reality exists, and out of that comes being, because we certainly are beings in this period of time. So I find myself falling into the first camp, thinking that being is the ultimate reality, and everything else comes from that. But out of that, and the fact that being is one, means everything is interconnected. The environment, all animals, all humans. And in that realm, we absolutely must understand our interconnectivity and our ultimate responsibility for the relationship of all manifestations of being on this planet Earth, where we find ourselves incarnated at this time. Thank you.
So move us to the left-hand side of the panel. I'd like to welcome Mr. Jason Cebalo. Jason is a philosophy honours student here and a Catholic apologist on the panel. Please make him welcome.
Thanks, Eleanor. I'd like to thank everyone for coming along tonight. I'd like to thank my fellow panellists. Thanks to Rachel for organising this event. And thank you very much to the Catholic Society of St Peter for doing me the honour of asking me to speak on their behalf tonight. I'd like to begin with a point that some of you have heard me debate in the past, have heard me make this point before. There's a lot of debate in the media in various circles of whether one needs God to be good. Now, in a fundamental sense, I don't think you do need God to be good. I happen to know that Travis McKenna, the speaker for the Atheist here, is a fundamentally good, decent person in many respects. What I will assert, and what I've asserted many times before, is that you need God in order to have a consistent rationale for being good. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a sort of divine command theory. Chris was talking before about the fact that, for instance, even religious people will address themselves in secular arguments to the questions of the world. Well, in a fundamental sense, we've always done that. We've always believed that there is a morality which comes from God, but which can be understood and demonstrated without necessarily making reference to God. It's called natural law theory, and it was a part of the Catholic tradition long before 1789. But what I do suggest is that in the deeper sense, without God, at the end of the day, what we are is a group of bundles of chemicals which have evolved for no particular reason and for no particular purpose. And I've heard, obviously we'll be hearing from him later, and sorry to pick on him twice before he's even had a chance to speak, but I've heard on more than one occasion Travis's attempts to justify morality in the context of shutting any sort of God out of the picture. And quite frankly, well, we'll hear from more, but quite frankly, I'm amazed at just how genuinely incoherent such an intelligent person can be. I want to suggest that in a fundamental sense, at the ground roots, if we are going to have a debate about the future of humanity, if we are going to have an understanding that humanity really has value beyond what is granted to us by a particular state or a particular society or a particular worldview, we need the Judeo-Christian understanding that we are creatures created in the image and likeness of God. That does not, lest I be misunderstood, necessarily imply the direct creation of the human species. I believe Catholicism is entirely consistent with the theory of evolution. But it does mean that humans are the product of the plan and design of a benevolent and loving God. And I want to suggest to you that without that, at the end of the day, we are the pawns of whatever the majority of a given society chooses to value. And that, I submit, is simply not good enough. Throughout history, there has been, most people would acknowledge, a thing called moral progress. But how does moral progress come about if not because certain people within a society, and generally to begin with, those people are a very small minority, begin by saying, hang on, things are not merely a question of what does the state say or what does the majority say. The majority are wrong. And to say that, you need an objective standard against which the opinions of the majority of society can be registered. And what I would fundamentally argue is that that we need that Judeo-Christian picture of man as a creature in the image of God, loved by that God, and created with an eternal dignity and destiny, for that to held together as a coherent picture. And so my most essential point about what is the place of God in the 21st century is that God is the one without whom and without the context of whom man's dignity does not make sense, and whom we fundamentally need to have a meaningful moral discourse about where we're headed as a human species, as a society. Thank you very much.